Ash's creation will kill WoW. No, Ash's creation is not going to kill WoW. And also, Ash's creation literally can't kill WoW because the team that creates the game is way too small, and there's no way that they could handle a player base the size of World of Warcraft. They wouldn't have an effective strategy for managing the type of players. They'll probably run into, server issues and all sorts of other stuff. And also, people that are coming from other video games are going to expect, they'll have their sites put at World of Warcraft level quality of content and quality of everything else, and they're probably not going to get that. Can't they expand? Yeah, of course they can expand. They just are a small team. MMOs don't succeed in their first year. Elder Scrolls Online, which is a fantastically huge MMO right now and is one of the most popular, did terribly in its first year. Final Fantasy XIV, which is the largest MMO on the planet, did terribly in its first year. It did so terribly, Square Enix had to redo the entire thing with the Realm Reborn. I'll give you an easy example, okay? So, players will consume content faster than companies can produce content, right? You will think to yourself, well, people will play the content at a certain pace. But you understand, MMO players and video game players in general, especially PC gamers, are like, they're going to play. They're not going to pace themselves. They're going to play. So this is a game that came out. It was called Destiny 2. It was based off of the game Destiny 1. It's made by Bungie. Now, very fun game. Very fun game. Destiny 1, good game. When Destiny 2 came out, it had a lot of problems. And one of the problems that it experienced, other than the fact that it wasn't Destiny 1, and they cut out a lot of stuff and made a bunch of changes that people didn't like, was also the content. It didn't have the content. Destiny 1 had 4 years of accumulated content. It had different types of dungeons, it had different raids you could run. They had done patches to update all of the content, so every content they had ever released was available at the endgame. All of the dungeons, all of the raids, all of the miniature trials and different types of challenges were all available at the level cap. So you had the opportunity to play any content you wanted. So you could spend your whole day doing different raids and doing different stuff every day, and you were always doing different things. When they made Destiny 2, they didn't have 4 years of content. They had what they could scrape together in probably like 3 years of development. So the game comes out, and the campaign is like maybe 12 hours. And then after about 12 hours of campaign, you have like the end game. And the end game was gated so that you could do a little bit a week. But basically, if you played the game for about a month, there was nothing left to do. And they didn't have any content coming down the pipeline for 4 months because it's expensive. You got to make content for your MMO. So you had people going on the forums and being like, this game sucks. Like, I bought the game, I've logged 200 hours, and there's nothing left to do. And it's the first month. So what are you going to do? How do you keep these players' attention for the 200 hours? You don't. They go back to whatever they were playing before. They go back to Destiny 1, or they go back to another video game. What's going to happen is you'll have a lot of people spending money and spending time on Ashes of Creation, on something else. They will go and play those games. But I guarantee you, when New World comes out, people are going to play New World for 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks, and then they will go back to World of Warcraft. And what these MMOs have to do is figure out how do they keep their players when they don't have the endgame content. Because they just won't. They won't have it. One, they don't understand what their players want. And this is not like, I'm not throwing you shade against the developers. Every game is different. So if they make a unique game that has unique mechanics and is a unique thing, how could they know what the larger player base actually is interested in and is very, how deeply they want to play different types of content, different quests, different experiences. Like they don't know what the core heart of their player bases will want to do because they have PvP, they have all sorts of different systems. What's the most interesting and the best system that they could get involved in? So instead, they're going to be, trying their best to throw the darts at the wall. And if they make any mistakes or miss, they're going to be learning about it. So after the first year, they'll know, oh, our players really like the PvP. And this is the biggest drive because they have metrics and data. People spend the most time on this. People spend the most time on this. But they won't have that right away. And the answer is you lose all your players and you have to hope you can get them back somehow. Character boosts are killing these games' content? No, I think the player boosts are saving these games' content. I completely disagree. And the reason why I say that is because I guess technically you could say that yes, it does kill the content because people aren't playing the content. But also, how much money do you think these companies make off of player boosts? There's a reason why they sell them, and there's a reason why every MMO sells a content boost. All the big MMOs sell content skips and content boosts. And they all do that because it is a good way to make money and to put all your players into one group, right? People complain about MMOs feeling empty because they do. Because you have World of Warcraft. How many zones are in World of Warcraft? There's hundreds of zones. So if you go into the Grizzly Hills, the odds of you finding another player is 0%. You will never find another player in there because people are so spread out across this gigantic, monolithic, massive world. Look at the size of this place. I don't see anybody in here. Is it because the game is dead and no one is playing? No, it's because this zone is level 120 and it's one area in this whole zone, which is one area in this whole zone, which is one area in this whole zone. So I'm not going to see other players. But when people are level boosted and they're all together at the same level, it seems exciting. When you're playing World of Warcraft and you're out in whatever major city is, the reason why every World of Warcraft expansion comes with a new major city is because the new major city is where all the players are going to congregate, so it feels lively, it feels big. That's why they don't make the areas as large as they used to, but instead make them more densely packed with like tunnels and other things that kind of spread off of the main area. Is so you always feel like you're playing with other players. It's all an illusion to make you think that there's more people around you than there might actually be because they're worried about the perception. So level boosts allow the designers to funnel characters into the content that is both they think is the best because it's the most recent, because techniques for building content gets better, storytelling devices get better. And on top of that, people who are able to easily and instantly play with their friends without having to spend a bunch of time doing content that may or may not be difficult for them to do. For sure. I don't think a new game is going to have a boost though. Why would New World have a boost at release? That makes no sense. Games create boosts when you need content. For example, Final Fantasy XIV. The main story quest takes like 300 hours to do if you want to play the endgame. So if you play World of Warcraft or you play Lord of the Rings Online, and you kind of care about the story, but you'd rather watch an hour and a half YouTube video while like eating potato chips and then just start at where the new expansion is, that's probably going to be preferable because you know how to do MMO mechanics. You've done fetch quests where you go and you kill 10 orcs, you come back to town, you hand in the quest. Every game has that. Questing in MMOs is not the most dynamic and interesting part. Every quest in every MMO is always the same, and they just pad out and copy and paste the content everywhere, so that way it just makes the game feel longer. Every MMO is like that. There's no illusions. I'm not alluding that any of these MMOs does anything different. They all kind of do the same thing. So how does this kind of translate? Oh, there's the Tales of Yore as Zanul Bazaar. There we go. How does this translate? Well, what I'm saying is that the general idea is that if you've played a game like Lord of the Rings and you've played this copy-paste style quest system that every game uses, having access to a level boost means you can then play the newest content with your friends and also with what's popular and hype. So these older games, that make sense. But for a newer game, like New World's not going to have a level boost for like 2 years into its life cycle, right? None of these games are going to have level boosts until they have content. And you can't have when I just talked about New World and all new MMOs, they don't have content. They will have at most 2 to 3 weeks worth of endgame content for like an MMO gamer. Casual player can probably stretch it out over 6 months. But the hardcore audience, or the people that come home and they ignore their significant others, or they don't have one, and they have a job where they can still just come home from work or something, or they are a student and they're in school and they blow off all their time, and people who don't regulate their sleep schedules and put 60 hours of a week into an MMO are going to burn out on whatever new game comes out in less than 1 single month, unless there's something crazy or ridiculous out there. So they would never release it with a level boost. That would make no sense. So yeah, so as I was saying, none of these MMOs that are coming out soon will have boosts, but without level boosts, a lot of these games would actually straight up die. Like if there was no level boost in World of Warcraft, and whenever you bought, like when you buy an expansion, you have to level all the way through it. Like there's a reason why when you buy an expansion, it always comes with a level boost to get up to the level cap, the previous level cap. Because if you don't have that in your expansion, then somebody buys it, or they start playing World of Warcraft, they realize, oh, I can't play this until I'm level 50, and then they will have an experience that is not tailored, that's not controlled. You can't control the experience of a player during the leveling process because that is dictated by how many people they interact with, and a lot of the different experiences they have all over the place. So there's a good chance that they might never see another person while they're leveling, or maybe they will, but they might not get the information that they want. They might not have this, maybe the older tutorials might be out of date, and you have an extra burden on the development staff to make sure that the older content is always up to date and always accurate, to make sure it reflects the current state of the game as it is right now with balance changes and all these other stuff. Or you throw in a level boost when somebody buys the expansion. So now, oh, do you want to play World of Warcraft? Well, buy the expansion, which is the latest content, and you start playing right away. So then somebody buys the game, they level up to the end, the game fortunately is not super complicated, so the actual play style you can learn pretty quickly because they have like an intro cutscene that teaches you how to play for the most part in an intro section, and now you're playing the content they specifically tailored for you to do with exact story beats, exact pacing that they want you to have. They introduce you to other players in the exact rate at which they want you to do it. So you're fed along this very specific track to kind of guarantee you have the highest rate of having a good time, because first impressions are everything, so you want to have a good time on your first impression, and then you're already able to play in areas that feel populated with lots of people because everyone's playing and you get the excitement. So you're already fed right into the excitement right away. It is the best possible path on the hamster wheel. And best part, all the content from the past is still available. So if they didn't delete it, it's just you can play it should you want to. And the fact that most people don't do that, well, they will buy the boost and not go back to the content, might be a situation where you say, oh, but that's really sad because then they're not really having the content. Or a lot of people don't want to spend hundreds of hours replaying through content. If they're interested in the story, they will, but a lot of people will kind of pick and choose the things that they want to do. I think it's okay that somebody doesn't want to become fully invested in something to still want to be able to play a game or play with their friends. And I think these companies making the decision to let people play the way that they want, especially when it comes to not playing content that is out of date and possibly even wrong, especially when companies and games do retcons where they change stories, and you could possibly like play a quest that will contradict another quest or story. Yeah. Anyway, that's my TED talk about why I think that MMOs are they're like the new MMOs are going to be changing the landscape in terms of how MMOs are going to be overall, and in that MMOs have an immense challenge to succeed in that first year. It's nearly impossible. Evaluate other players' progression investment. I mean, only if you. It depends on what you consider the impact of investment. Like, for example, if somebody buys a level boost, they'll still never have the world first title for completing a content. They won't. In World of Warcraft, they have depreciated achievements, and so in WoW or in LOTRO they do as well. So in Lord of the Rings Online, there is in WoW there's the ahead of the curve. In Lord of the Rings Online, it's the cutting edge, or what the hell is it called? Anyway, where if you do the content while it is relevant and while it's current, you get special titles, you get special rewards to make you have that achievement that you did something that you could only get while you were playing at the time. Similarly, if you do all the content in WoW, you get the Lore Master achievement, where you get the little title that gives you Lore Master because you played all the quests and you did all the things. So there are rewards for actually playing all the content. It's just they won't be rewards that make you statistically better than somebody else. They only make you cosmetically or self-satisfactory better than somebody else. It's the trophy on the wall, right? It's the idea that if I compare this to like another sport, if you have, like, let's say you ran 100-meter dash, and you ran 100-meter dash in 10 minutes and 40 seconds, and you were the fastest person, you got gold medal from the Olympic Games. That's sick. You'll always have that gold medal. So then you might have somebody else that, you know, didn't compete in the Olympic Games in the 70s or the 80s or the 90s or whatever, but then you got Usain Bolt coming out here with a 9.4 second, 100-meter dash, and Usain Bolt pulls home the gold medal. So this guy level boosted. He didn't play the older content. He didn't compete against the older athletes, but the guy still has his medal. It doesn't devalue the value of your gold medal, the one that you achieved, only if you believe it devalues it. If you're right, it's all about perception. It's very much like progression. If you feel like that, it's a personal sense, which does not mean that information isn't valuable, and that doesn't mean that developers should ignore their players or should not consider that players will feel that feeling. That is a real feeling. That's something I've learned from years of therapy, is that feelings are real. So if you have a situation where something happens and you feel a certain way about it, that is a legitimate concern because your brain is putting these things forefront, so they should be recognized. However, that being said, there is also the aspect of how much of that can a company appropriately account for, right? How much can they do to counteract the fact that people would feel that their accomplishments are being like, well, I leveled up. But like, is leveling an accomplishment? I have no idea. In World of Warcraft, that's most of it. It's leveling and getting items. That's pretty much it. Leveling is time-based. I know, because you can play, like, in all MMOs, you can always play a class, and for the most part, hit one key on the keyboard and be able to win. And don't tell me that you can't, because You can straight up, if it's Final Fantasy 14, whatever spell they start you with at level 1, you can just spam that single spell and be able to beat every monster in the whole game during the leveling process, because landscape is not hard. Same with World of Warcraft. You can pick a hunter and press Arcane Shot and beat the whole game. You can play Lord of the Rings and probably auto-attack monsters to death as long as you have crystals in your weapon, which they need to finish. And if they rework legendary weapons, they should get rid of the whole crystal system. Crystals are bad. All weapons should always have max DPS. The idea is, leveling is an accomplishment in terms of time spent, but not so much in terms of challenge, because the game doesn't throw direct challenges at you all the time. And then even beyond this, leveling, like the raid accomplishments, getting the equipment, people feel different senses of accomplishment. Some people feel the sense of accomplishment. I have the equipment. I have the gear. Look at me. I have the trinkets from the Amden Demul. I have the helmet from doing the upgrades because I got the full Remerkant set. I'm so strong. I can do all this stuff. I have the items. Look at my items. Versus what some people will instead interpret it as like, I beat the content. For me, the content is the most important thing. So I don't care about the items. The numbers are irrelevant. This stuff is irrelevant. Also, that's dramatic. Is that Azog? That is Azog. This is a dramatic event. So a lot of this stuff it's kind of cool, but what I care about is this, the title. You know what I really want? I want to get the title Starlit Hero of the Remerkant. That's what I want. I want that title, which is beat Shelob on tier 3. I want to beat the boss. So that's my sense of progression. That's my sense of accomplishment. So for one person, so if they make the gear easier to acquire, I don't care. If they level boost people so people can level up, I don't care. I want to beat the boss. That's all I care about. That's literally it. I don't care about any other aspect. So somebody else having a different experience or somebody else, doing something else is not relevant to my experience. I feel good when I get through, And I think that's so everyone has a different experience. So just because I don't really care too much about that doesn't mean other people shouldn't, And so that's kind of my point, is that everyone feels something differently. And I think that it's, from a game designer's perspective, they have to try really hard to make it so everyone feels like there's a sense of accomplishment. And that's why some people can get really touchy about boosts, because somebody might feel that their level, the actual level on their character, this number 130 here, is the sense of accomplishment. Because if you play a lot of MMOs, you would know that level is not a sense of accomplishment, because every MMO lets you level up basically for free. And if you play very few MMOs, or you're like, you got 2 kids and you can only log in for an hour a week, and when you hit that level cap, that's like the high of the week. You're telling everybody you go to work, oh, I just hit the maximum level in my video game. It's great. You're excited, and that's awesome. So everyone has their own different sense of accomplishment. How do you address that? I don't know. It's not my job. I don't work in e-commerce. Ooh. 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 Look at this map. This is beautiful. Oh, man. I love this map.